Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel. Thanks for swinging by and hanging out with us for Love is the Wisdom Behind Awakening. And Chris is sporting the shirt today. There it is. Love is, I didn't get the memo. Love is the Wisdom Behind the Awakening.
Yes.
And
So 26.
Yep, discussion 26. So welcome to that. And we're going to start off today. For those of you who missed it, I posted a video earlier this week or last week. I don't remember. Last week. And we are early this week. So it would have been last week. I posted this video and got some interesting feedback on it. But I'm going to share it with you and then we're going to dive into this discussion together. So let me go ahead and share the screen and get this going. So share, and there we have it. Being woke is a state of consciousness in which you are aware of social, political, and cultural systems that shape the world around you. It means recognizing that we live in a democracy founded on liberty and justice for all, where injustices and inequalities still exist, and we must actively work to change them. To be woke is to understand that the world is not a level playing field, and that some groups have been historically privileged while others have been systematically oppressed. It means recognizing that the struggles of others are interconnected with your own, and that true justice cannot be achieved until everyone is free from oppression. Being woke is not just a passive state of awareness, but an active commitment to social change. It means using your voice, your words, your resources, and your power to uplift marginalized communities and fight against oppression. It means being willing to learn, listen, and unlearn, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. In short, being woke is a powerful force for social justice and a crucial step towards creating a more equitable and just world for all. So, how do you get it? Oh, there it is. We are back. So yes, stay woke.
That was so well written.
Thank you.
That was so well written. Yeah.
It just it blows my mind that they're trying to take that away, but that's how the opposition they try to they just change the narrative. They just take things, twist. And
interesting thing about it's a campaign, and it's a campaign to get us to all fight. It's a campaign to take something that we've all been raised to have values around, that we treat each other well, that we, do unto others as we would have them do unto you, and the whole sort of peace thing, and love your neighbor as you would yourself, and all the stuff we've grown up with, that whole sort of ethic, right? There's nothing about woke that is in opposition to that. Nothing. It's just another way of saying it, but that's what it is. What I was reminded of, and I think I said this to you the other day, was the phrase political correctness was a phrase that people used in the 70s and 80s as a way to say, don't do things that are going to keep us oppressed, right? when the culture war started in the 80s, they did the same thing that they're doing with woke. They took political correctness and turned it into that the left had an agenda to try and squelch free speech. Now, the whole argument about free speech, which is interesting, is really that they wanted permission to be as racist as they could without having any consequences. And so if you called them on, telling racist jokes or doing racist behaviors, they were like, well, you're just enforcing political correctness. Like that was a bad thing. So they're doing the same thing with this. And the issue is not the text. The issue is not what it really is. The issue is that they've got us all fighting with each other as if it actually says something bad. Yeah, so we were going to ban books because they're woke. Really? No, we're going to ban books because they aren't making white supremacy dominant in the land, which is against the Constitution, which is against everything we've been raised with. So, we go into this, and I think I said to you the other day when I was getting really frustrated that we get caught up in the conversations about this when we're really just being distracted from the real issues. While we're arguing about wokeness, they're over there trying to make laws that will keep us from being free.
Exactly.
And so we've got a judge in Texas who actually uses an 1873 law to outlaw abortion pills. And the interesting thing about how that law was overturned was in the 1970s, around the same case that you can't interfere with someone's right to privacy. So you sort of go, so of course what the place I go to right away is, are these all the people who are reincarnated from that period that they lost?
You wonder,
right? Andrea says, I'm getting that Trump is actually Hitler, and I'm thinking, I don't think it's Trump. I think it's DeSantis. He stays up he and Abbott both, they stay up all night trying to figure out what else can we do that will get them all stirred up. They're trying to keep us stirred up and they're succeeding.
They literally, it's like, I feel like they have these meetings and they're like, okay, so they think of the most outrageous thing to do.
Yeah.
So in regards to the woke video and why we brought it out, it was it sparked a lot of comments and a lot of negative comments. It was very interesting, and so I'm going to read some of them to you in regards.
If you don't want to listen to them, if you want to put it in your brain, plug your ears right now.
Plug your ears to the negative comments, but it's just so interesting. To me, it's fascinating. But let's take a look here. So we have throw woke in the trash. Republicans are woke too. Being woke is when you make up fights in your head. Go woke, go broke. Troy, this person named Troy here, Troy Burgers is his name, says, you have no clue what woke means. Christopher Kilduff says, woke has no place in Murica, Murica. The next person says pathetic ignorance. The next very white woman named Wit, all lies. So quit shoveling it down people's throats. No, I don't. This one doesn't even make sense, so I'm not even going to read it. they're equivalent it to it being evil to be woke. Yeah, but it makes no sense. Never be woke, they say. We live in a broken nation. Wake up. It's thanks to Biden. So they're blaming Biden. Woke are traitors to the great USA. This person's calling people who are woke fascist. We live in a constitutional republic, individual liberties. Everyone has the right to be them and not be forced to see things your way. Fascist. Let's see. Someone said, bullshit. This is not what being woke means. Then we have everything about being woke is what is destroying this country. Y'all don't learn or listen. Fascists and liars, you all are. Fascinating, right?
It's clearly.
And the emoji
need another video about what fascism is.
Right. And Stephen who wrote that, next to his name has the little emojis. One is the Bible, the cross, the American flag, and the cowboy smiley face next to Stephen's name there. Romney Wordsworth says, woke is Marxist. Awake is the American Republic patriots. Very interesting. Okay, Joel says woke equals trying to control everything. In between all these comments, literally, no, it's one negative comment. I felt like everybody came out at once. Like they're like, okay, guys, go. And they all wrote in at the same time, right next to each other. But then I have one positive comment in between all these. And there's lots more. And here's Tony. And he said, 100%. He was all for it. Yeah. Okay. People, just laughed at it or whatever. Let's see. Okay. This one's an interesting one. And ability to victimize yourself and never take accountability for yourself. So blame everything on everyone around you. So that's what woke is. So that's just some of the comments that came in, and I just thought that was just very interesting. How when you saw the video, it wasn't like I was just just offering and it called all that hate, how they are so committed to the energy of hate. Sad. So I think when I reached out to you in regards to all that playing out, it's just like how. So there's no changing the hate. There's no changing them, right? We can't. It's almost like, is this a portion of our, when we contract to come down here, is this a portion of folks who are meant to bring in opposition to push us towards positive change?
Maybe.
Thoughts?
In a sense, it's been going on forever.
Yeah, yeah, yes, it
Yeah.
has. So
Yeah.
is that how we look at this? Because we don't want to be, they want to change us. They want to make us into, they want us to follow get in their boxes and follow along their belief systems. And everybody is on board or you're not. Either you're with us or you're against us. And if you're against us, you're out, you're gone, right? We're going to take you down, take you out. But we don't want to be we don't want to be like that. We don't want to make them believe what we believe. However, because then that would make us like them, right? You have to believe what we say.
Well, part of what we're dealing with, and I think with the Trump indictments, because the same mindset is out there around the indictments that his lawyer is saying, I'm going to get the charges thrown out. His followers are saying, it's a witch hunt, it's a hoax. They're not really, he didn't do anything wrong, and 34 indictments says he did something wrong.
I know. It's like,
I mean, 34 is the magic number, folks. He did something wrong. So, and the people you showed in that video are people who've watched the people who've done nothing wrong be killed.
right.
The people who have done nothing wrong be pulled over to the side of the street just for driving their car.
100%. Yep.
The people who were going to be arrested when a man put his knee on their neck and killed them.
Right.
The woman who's sitting in her apartment where they break into the apartment and they shoot her dead and it was the wrong apartment. Those are people who have done something wrong. And that's what the video is about. It's about justice. It's about what are we doing, folks? And today there was another mass shooting in Louisville. So there's 9 people who were shot. 2 of them police officers. Both police officers are in critical condition. And the guy used to work there. But it's in Kentucky, and we're not going to do anything about the gun laws in Kentucky. So, we're just going to keep moving along and making arguments and saying that we're fascists. Part of what's really hard for me is having had my father and my relatives live through World War II and live through what it meant to fight against Nazi Germany and real fascism.
Right.
And
right.
how it really worked and how it really was. And it was not unlike what these people are doing by saying we shouldn't be fighting for justice. What about us? It's like, what about you? I mean, clearly you're benefiting from a constitution that you claim allows you to be everything, but not everybody gets those privileges. So, and I think where we were going before we did this was trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is walking around saying we're polarized, right? And I'm struck by how we were both raised with a particular value system that is part of the same way of thinking these folks are using about things like love your neighbor, freedom and justice for all, be kind to everybody, be loving, all the little things that we learn. Give gifts at Christmas, make sure that you take care of the poor. 2 different states have ruled this week to remove free food from
Oh,
kids.
I know. Don't even get me started.
No, it's happening
Horrifying.
Here.
Yeah, remove the food from the kids, but give them self-free food.
Yeah. And give them, right. And was it Wyoming they did that? And I mean, it's just like, what are we doing? And you can almost hear them saying, well, they should just get a job. They should be with families where they just get a job. Well, maybe when they just get a job, they're not going to get the wages they should be getting.
Exactly.
As the level of classism and racism and sexism that's at work throughout the entire culture.
exactly.
But you and I are preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
We're
that's
talking,
true.
we're not gonna raise each other's awareness around this stuff because we agree. The question is, how do you deal with the people? That hurt. When you sent those to me, I felt hurt. It was your Facebook. I'm sitting here going, that hurt my heart. I don't know how you feel. So how do we, and you said maybe they came in on purpose to make us awake. Well, maybe. And then I said back to you, love is the wisdom behind awakening to the reality that we have created this world. We have all created this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
So
said to you, gender is a social construction. Sex is the biology. Gender is the society. So everything you think of as trans and drag is about, mostly, a good percentage of it, it's about gender. It's about the rules we created about what we're supposed to look like, dress like, act like in this country that we allowed all the freedoms happening. There's so many contradictions in what you read. I'm just sitting here going, what? Yeah, anyway.
So yeah, I like what you say about, preaching to the choir here with us, and we can vent this out, and which also feels good as well, talking it out together and just saying, yeah. So it's just like, connecting in with that and addressing those things instead of, we know what happens when we try to push stuff aside. We're like, oh, well, that's them, and I'm just going to push that aside. Well, no, that's them. Let's talk about that. That didn't, however it felt, but how do we move forward with this? How do we recognize that when you finally realize that if we sat in a room with Donald Trump, he would not change, no matter how much we said, gave him the love and the light and the awakening and the everything that could assist him in recognizing and aligning with his true self. He wouldn't change. And so we can say all these things, and mostly it's for each other, because we learn, we awaken, we were like, oh yes, that resonates with where I'm at and how I'm growing and how I'm becoming more aware, or my conscious, or becoming conscious. We're on that train together. So that's why we get each other, right? The family you're watching, and Chris and I, we get it. We're on the same train. We're on the same radio station. We're frequency, whatever you want to put it, however you want to put that. But people that aren't on that train, they're not getting on the train. So no matter what we keep saying to them, it's not going to get them on the train. So what do we do?
This is a conundrum that's been around forever. It's been around forever. Even during World War II, when the U.S. hadn't gone into Germany yet, hadn't gone in to help the Allied forces. Even before that, people were debating. They were arguing.
It's always a debate.
And then when they finally uncovered the scale of the concentration camps, it was too late, right? And millions of people were dying, not from being soldiers, but from being persecuted. So people are still arguing. I think that part of what we didn't learn, and I thought we did learn, was that it can happen here.
Right.
And we are alert to that it can happen here. We do know some of the features of that. And when Jason Stanley does his recording about here's what fascism is, and he's a professor at Yale, and his father was a Holocaust survivor. Hi, Manfred. And Yeah, and he actually would be a good person to bring in, frankly, Manfred Stanley. Because Manfred really fought his entire adult life to try and wake people up and be alert to what could happen and all of that, and passed it on to his son. I think that what you and I were talking about earlier is really probably the place we should go, which is that there are certain values that we all share. And I'm thinking about members of my family who are not unlike what you just read. And it saddens me, and mostly because, because of what I teach and because sitting across the room from a whole lot of people who have been persecuted in ways that they never asked for and they never did anything to deserve. I want to sort of give them a virtual hug. I want to like say it's going to be okay. We're going to be right alongside you. We're going to fight for the same things, and we're going to do that too. And so there's that, but how do you get people? Yeah, I'm thinking of one person, but one family member who I adore.
We all have that family member, don't we?
Yeah, who I absolutely adore. But to be able to break through, to say, I caught him one time in my study looking at the books, and I walked in and said to him, I know if someone of color were standing on your front porch and needed help, you would help them. And he said, I don't want to talk about this. And he walked away. And so I think somewhere in there, and I was thinking of Brene Brown and all the work she's done in empathy, what we have to do to shift this debate is to shift people away from the arguments, from the sound bites.
Thank you.
To the empathy. How would you go? Did you write that down?
I wrote it down when you were talking because I'm like, I want to remember this to come back. And that's so you
right? Because
refocusing.
Yeah. What kind of world do you want to live in? Do you want it to be a world where we all fight with each other, or do you want it to be a world where we care about each other? That's the binary. The binary is not the debate. The binary is, do you want to be together or do you want to be at odds? If you want to be together, then how do we find the common ground? And I think the common ground is in that level of humanity. Your car's stuck in the snow. Sure, I'll help you push it out. I'm not going to say, who did you vote for?
Exactly.
You're without any food. In my case, I've got a broken back. People are coming out of the woodwork. Do I say to them, who did you vote for? What are your politics? No. I'm just grateful that they're here, and they're here because of their hearts, not because of their political position.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we have to somehow get there. I have no magic.
Right. But I think we have a good start. And so when we find ourselves like going, we're in that, like confounded, when you have this face when someone says something, like, what? Yeah, we need to feel those things, but then once we recognize it and work through the initial, like whatever the feeling is in regards to their belief, which can be confounding sometimes, refocus that. And how do we refocus our energies that we're placing on the negatives? How do we refocus it on? Where do we refocus it? Because
we need a movement, and we need a movement that's called lift each other up.
A lift each other up movement. I like it.
We've done little tiny bits and pieces of these things. You've been doing a lot of stuff on your channel and other people's channels. Like, let's all send money to so-and-so, or let's help the people out in Ukraine. We need a more sort of constant growing, explosive, sort of lift everybody up kind of movement.
I like it. As a big thing to do.
Yeah.
But in the little moments,
Yeah.
when we're facing other people and their boxes that we don't want to climb in, it literally is about refocusing.
Someone just came in. Wilma Mankiller.
Wilma Mankiller. What does she have to say to us?
All I can tell you is she just came in, but you're the one with you're the one who channels. I'm just telling you, she just came in.
She says, I'm the one that can channel. She channels too, you guys. She's just
Not like you do.
she's handing the baton over.
Uh-huh. I get the names. I get the energy. I don't get the words.
Okay. What do you want to talk to us? Everybody's every human being's feelings or emotions or reactions or response to their human experience is valid. You are valid. What you feel is valid. We hear what you're saying. You have all these children. And when she says children, she's talking about the humans, all these children, all the humans who just want to be heard. They want to be validated. They want to be valid. And when that's being compromised in one way for them, one way or another, their response or their reaction may not come from their higher selves, as you would say. It comes, and this is why she's calling us children. It comes from our child space of wanting to be heard and validated.
Mm.
Validate each other as human beings. And Chris, she says, you creating that connection through in service to each other due to circumstances outside one's realm of. So you use that example of breaking your back and people coming in because all the other stuff is null and void at that point. It's all about you as a fellow human who's in a position of requiring connection and other that human connection for assistance and healing, right? And so that, how do you create that in a situation? In sharing your video of woke, creating opposition and responses of opposition coming from their hearts of fear and wanting to be valid. And in order to make what they're feeling valid, they have to attack what you're saying and what you're bringing. How to respond to them, to that. Interesting. Allowing them to feel valid within what their life experience brings and their belief. So it's not that you're reaching out to them and saying, I validate what you're saying. I hear you. I hear that's what you're feeling. It's more of an energy space here that you hold, that you have power over. You have power over the energy that you place back into it. It's supernatural power that you have. Your response to this, again, we're not reacting, because you are at a space within your box belief system of not needing to react to everything now, right? So it's important that you have the ability to respond. That's your superpower. And your superpower to respond is with the energy of understanding that their human experience and their box beliefs has them in this position. And it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't have to validate you. You validate you. But in reaction to them, you're sending them love and light and understanding and validating their life experience.
Would you like to know who she is?
Yes, I would. I like her.
Yeah, of course you like her. First of all, here's her. Oops, here's her picture.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay.
I feel like we read on her on a Monday night or something at one point.
You may have. She was a Native American activist, social worker, community developer, and the first woman elected to serve as principal chief of the Cherokee.
Ah, yes.
She was a major activist and a really kind and generous person. And yes, I met her.
And you know her, yeah.
And yes, I met her. I don't know her.
Okay, well, you met her.
She came to campus and I met her. She became involved in the occupation of Alcatraz. She later participated in land and compensation struggles with the Pitt River tribe. And for 5 years in the early 70s, she was employed as a social worker, focusing mainly on children's issues.
That makes sense to some of her messaging. That's so beautiful. I love it.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and she passed in 2010.
When you said she passed in 2010, she shows me her spirit. It was her, and she says some will understand, because I don't. Her spirit flying off on the back of a white bear.
Mm-hmm.
And she's showing me taking flight. And so she wanted to kind of sneak that little message into those who understand that.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. Do you have any questions?
Oh, no, that's a good point.
For her while she's here? I'm chill. I have the,
Yeah.
her presence is very, very, very strong here.
She's a really strong and powerful and compassionate person.
The compassion, it's just, I want to stay in her presence, because that is just, it's so nice to kind of sit in that hug of compassion.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what she embodied, really. Similar energy to Kuan Yin, but indigenous women. And, the story of the Cherokee is a really powerful story of the Trail of Tears. So,
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So is there anything that she wants to say to us about the plight of indigenous people right now?
Which is interesting because she keeps showing me the shirt I was wearing yesterday. And the
Yes.
shirt I was wearing yesterday said uplift the indigenous
Voices. Yes.
voices.
Yes.
And
I noticed it too. Yeah.
so again, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Does she have anything she wants to say to us about the plight of indigenous people
Okay.
right now?
She says our moment on the spotlight is coming. And because in fact, yesterday I put that shirt on because I feel like with all the marginal groups, there's always, and there, we need to have spotlight times, right? Where we have to get movement going, spotlight times are important. So like right now we have a spotlight on um, uh, uh, the Tennessee 3 and those, and you know, that kind of, so things like that kind of come in, and then all of a sudden there's a spotlight and then change happens, right? And so she says it's important to have, and so you had Black Lives Matter, you have the Women's March, and you know, you have you know, all these things are important to be spotlighted in times. And so because she's like, I know that you were questioning, I was questioning yesterday in regards to the indigenous voices being heard, like when are you going to be in the spotlight? When is this going to happen? And she said soon.
Yes.
It's coming in soon. We will have the stage again. So I'm asking about that.
Is the Supreme Court going to rule in favor of the case that's before them right now about indigenous people and their children being taken from their homes?
Let me tell you what is happening here. There's going to be some kind of uproar around this. She's not saying yes or no in the ruling,
right?
But there's going to be some kind of, again, push to the spotlight.
Yes.
And an opportunity for an uproar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now she's taking me into a really hard place, you guys. Of all these girls and women missing.
Mm-hmm.
It's shameful that it's not always being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
If it was your daughters, your wives,
right,
your sisters,
right,
you would not stop screaming from a bullhorn,
right.
wherever. The sorrow is deep in regards to this, and why is no one listening? That's very interesting. Okay. So I don't know. I personally don't know. I don't know the bill actually that they're bringing forward.
The bill is to there's a bill before the Supreme Court about how government can take Native children out of the Native homes and put them with American, not American, white people.
What
There's always been a controversy because the cultures are so different from the sort of traditional ruling cultures that if parents go off to work, for example, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but if parents go off to do something, the elders of the community take care of the children. the US has had a history of taking those children away from them, saying that they're neglecting them and putting them with white families. There's a new bill that's out that's trying to do a version of that. And it sounds to me like what she's saying is the uproar is going to be that they're going to uphold this thing, and they're going to be able to take the children from their indigenous families.
Oh, I wonder if this is all kind of connected, not only from the women going missing, but the children being taken.
Right.
Holy cow, I just got the chills on that.
Right. That's right.
This is
That's
wrong. Right. This is so wrong.
Well, we're doing this
Grievous.
everywhere. We're doing this everywhere. I mean, the Russians have been taking children from Ukraine. You know, that we're doing it all over the place. There's no real, and sex trafficking is about the kids.
Yeah.
We want to make it sound like it's all about, you know, the left doing this. It's not the left. It's not the left. And this has been going on for decades. And the indigenous people of Mexico are the same victims. You know, we've talked
Right.
about that
On the board. Yes, 100%.
You know, that predators can go across the board with impunity, and they can rape and murder women and come back, and nobody does anything about it. And we're all worried about whether they're going to come and take our jobs, which they aren't.
Yeah. And so there's a chorus singing here, and they're singing, it's just save the children, save the children.
Yep.
There's, I can't even, multitudes of voices coming in, save the children. This is a chant on the other side, literally, of the veil, chanting and pushing that energy in. And let's continue to push that energy through here. We've been given the words, save the children, save the children. She's bringing in the word refocus. So when you address, when you see an injustice, adjust your focus when you address it, right? So when you want to create change or bring in a positive energy towards something, or make a higher conscious decision, or focus on something, it's not focusing on the problem or I'm trying to piece together, guys, what she's saying. So it's not focusing on the injured party, it's focusing on the injurer. So do you understand do you have language for that, Chris?
Yes, we talked about it last time.
Oh,
it's keeping your focus on the dominant, not on the target. Hold them accountable. Hold DeSantis and Abbott accountable.
And that's
hold the people accountable who are making these things happen.
So on whatever the scale is, and so that's on a larger scale, no matter what the scale is, refocus to the dominant, not the then. Right. That's right. Okay, so that's right. That makes sense. So that's what she's saying. That will help us, because again, we're in the frequency where our vibration is such that we can respond instead of react. And responding is focusing on the dominant, the cause, not after the cause, but the initial part. I still don't have full words for it, but I know that you say the dominant, and that makes sense.
Well, I think we need a t-shirt.
We need a new t-shirt. Oh, gosh. Okay. Okay.
I think that's what's making people so angry when you do things about stay woke. It's really, you really are holding. It's a practice. It's a mindset that's saying, if you're not that, you're wrong. And so the privileged are saying, I'm not giving up. I told you about this woman. I did years ago. Tony and I did a workshop with an organization in the Albany area. And at the end of the workshop, it was all about diversity. At the end of the workshop, this woman puts her feet up on the table, sits back, puts her hands right. So what you're saying is, in order for this business to be more equitable, I have to give up some of my privilege. And I looked at her and went, yeah. And she said, that'll never happen.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. Okay. All right. That's what's underneath this. Don't tell me I'm wrong, and don't tell me I have to give up some privilege. And one of the things that's circulating, and I heard it in the comments that you read, was this misinformation that children of the poor or people of color are siphoning money off of the good, hardworking taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that Ronald Reagan started when he started the whole idea of the welfare queen, which is totally false. And just for the record, because we're creating a record here, just for the record, the average welfare recipient is on welfare for less than 2 years, has less than 2 children, and most of them are rural because there are no jobs in rural America. So you find more of that there. So I'll stop now. Yeah, it's aggravating because it does. It's like, it's just below the surface, and everything you read and what we heard and people's resentment. Biden's doing all these giveaways. It's like, no, no, all right.
But again, the takeaway I feel like today is really stepping into how we respond and really being able to refocus our energy, acknowledging that it's not about changing the person, but about continuing to speak truth into the out into the energy. So it's not about changing them. And again, refocusing. We are just focusing on speaking truth, love, light, consciousness, connection, and just continuing that. At any level, I think of all of this, everything that we've talked about. So there's a scale of it or whatever. There's big issues and there's little ones. And so we have opportunities all the time. So let's practice that this week, you guys. I'm sure we'll have opportunity. Right? I'm sure we'll all have.
I think it's already bubbling up. Yes.
Well, thank you for going along, everyone, on our journey today in this discussion. And I'm so grateful for what's her name?
Wilma Mankiller. You can say thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, thank you, Chief. Thank you. I was almost called her man eater. That would have been wrong. She's laughing, but still, that's why I asked. Yeah, so thank you, Chief, for coming in, and thank you for the choir of Save the Children. Yeah. All right. Until next time, blessings to you all. Love and light. And and thank you for, we'll see you in the comments, right? Peace.